All right, welcome back on Into the Blend. We got Ethan Castilla here. He's a location manager at Zum Transportation. Ethan, thank you so much for coming onto the show this morning.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you having us here. So we're very excited to be here in Rockford and supporting Rockford Public Schools.
Yeah,
so thanks
absolutely,
so much.
100%. And obviously, just like we were talking about, Rockford Public Schools, they selected you guys as a transportation partner.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about what that really means?
Yeah, so really what that means is we support Rockford Public Schools. We're not taking over their entire transportation program, but rather supporting them. So we'll be handling a handful of general education big bus routes and about 145 special education routes. And so we have a team that's ready and excited to serve Rockford and Rockford Public Schools in that capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for folks who maybe aren't aware of you guys, you guys obviously coming from outside in, but hiring both experienced drivers, also folks who maybe have never driven a bus before. Kind of talk to us about maybe that process, and then also, why someone should choose Zum.
Absolutely. So yeah, no experience is necessary. We offer paid training, and currently for folks that are willing to get their CDL and school bus credentials, we're offering up to a $3,500 bonus. As well as if you are a certified school bus driver and come with your pre-vetted credentials, we're offering an incentive up to $8,000, right?
Nice.
And so we offer very competitive pay. School bus drivers up to $32 an hour, our attendants at $20, and our van drivers at $21 an hour. So it's a great culture, great company to be a part of, and we're really excited to serve the community and welcome new folks that want to join the company and join the culture and serve the community.
Yeah, and that organization too is definitely something that you guys are able to provide on a much wider scale as well for folks. Something else also that kind of makes you guys a little bit different. Talk to us kind of about that in terms of other transportation providers, and then for folks who maybe do want to apply, how can they do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So really what makes Zum different is our connected mobility experience, which is really our technology at hand. And what that does is it connects both the parents, our drivers, the school districts, as well as our operations team, all within one platform, and to provide real live data to all of those groups of people. And so basically what that boils down to is it offers better communication, more reliability, right, and just an overall better transportation experience for all lengths. So,
now I'll tell you what, in some of the surrounding communities, I've been seeing some of the buses start to drive around, all those the routes they're getting started. School's right around the corner. I mean, honestly, how do you guys plan to get everything up and running by then?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes, right? We're putting the finishing touches on our fleet, as you mentioned. We're running some summer school operations. We have our brand new facility. We're finishing the asphalt parking lot. And so we're very excited to make sure we're prepared for day one. We're welcoming all of our new team and getting all of our training in place. And we're really excited for our upcoming kickoff event, which is our really big celebration for our staff. It gets them really excited to start serving the community. So yeah, if anyone's interested in joining, they can go to ridezum.com and look at all of our openings, our opportunities, as well as our upcoming hiring events. And if you're in Rockford, you can visit us at 7479 Walton Street in Rockford every Tuesday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for walk-in interviews.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then that's something that obviously, like you mentioned, folks do need to have some experience, don't need to have any experience to just walk in?
Yeah, so again, no experience is necessary, but then we do welcome those that do have experience as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, and there's the info on the screen. I was going to say you really nailed all that information there, but yeah, walk-in interviews. It's every Tuesday and Friday. It's from 8 to 5, if I'm not mistaken.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it's 7479 Walton Street. They're in Suite 4, or you can check them out at ridezum.com/busdepot/open positions. Ethan, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
We're
very excited.
Yeah.